name is Jacob Sadavoy,
And I'm Michelle Zuby.
and we are here with Dr. Rocha, who is a longtime mentor, friend of mine. Such an honor to be here with you and to share this with hopefully a massive audience.
Yes, this is awesome. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so proud of this project. It's really good to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. So you wrote a chapter on behavioral economics, a topic that isn't taught as much as other topics in course sequences, often not talked about in supervision. So we'd love for just an overview of what behavioral economics is and applications that can really benefit the field and largely outside the field as well.
Yeah, so behavior economics is really not an intervention that's taught during a traditional BCBA training, but in more, in certain programs where you have a broader view, you get to see a little bit of behavior economics. And for the sake of definition, we can say that behavior economics is a field that blends social psychology and economy. And in behavior analysis, we look at behavioral economics when we're looking at choice and decision making. So it's not something that you would use particularly with an individual, but it's awesome to know about behavior interventions and its strategies when you're designing group intervention.
Great. So can you share some of your experiences utilizing the principles and framework of behavioral economics to change group behaviors?
So my most recent project has to do with polypharmacy. Polypharmacy is the prescription of more than one medication within the same class or days for the same use. Say, for example, if you have a headache, you take Tylenol, you take Advil, and you take ibuprofen. So all three medications are essentially for the same thing. That's, contraindicated. It can lead to a lot of side effects, and it reduces adherence. People are less likely to take the medication when they have many medications to take. So polypharmacy is a concern. My project involved polypharmacy in a psychiatric setting where, excuse me, where it's really even more common. So we had, the project involved polypharmacy in the whole hospital, and we measured the rate, what percentage of the prescriptions were polypharmacy prescriptions. And we wanted to reduce hospital-wide that rate. And the project was very simple. We really just measured that rate, and we sent emails to the prescribers saying, well, it's something that the World Health Organization indicates that we should avoid the use of polypharmacy. Worldwide, certain countries have different rates, and we would specify, the United States is about 6 to 10%, other places lower, and third world country are even lower. And then we would say, what's the rate of the hospital? And then we, after saying the rate of the hospital, and we say, your particular unit has this rate. And that's all the email said. And, that's taking advantage of the principle of social norms. So individuals do not like to look like they fare worse than their peers. So those that had a really high rate of prescription, that adjusted their prescription, and the hospital-wide rate went from 28% to 11% in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yes.
Massive.
And it's something very simple. All we did was send an email. So it's very cost effective.
Fantastic. Wow.
That's amazing. You mentioned something that I thought was really interesting about social norms. And I think right now, there's so much going on in the world, right? And I think we're looking to, I think most people are looking to other people. Are you getting the vaccine? Are you
Mhm.
wearing a mask? Are you doing this? Are you, carrying a gallon of hand sanitizer around with you? Are you drinking hand sanitizer? Whatever it might be. Can you speak a little bit about behavioral economics in more of like the light of what's happening right now?
Sure. So with respect to the pandemic, this is a huge healthcare issue. So we have not only lack of information that the public have, public doesn't have enough information. And then we have, when we get some information, it's conflicted. So any decision that we have to make in this scenario is very complex. And then we end up with information overload. So it's so much that there is to be done that we don't want to do it anymore. So principles of behavior economics can help in the decision-making process. And what we can do is have a choice architect, somebody that weighs the pros and cons and design some intervention to facilitate. So for example, if you look at vaccines, there's a number of decision bias that can influence that. So people have a loss aversion. So we don't know enough what it is, what are the effects of the vaccine. We have this promise of avoiding, COVID, but if I am healthy and I don't have COVID, I'm avoiding something that I don't really have, and it's, distant in the future. However, the real thing for me is what I have now that's concrete, and I'll be afraid of losing. So loss aversion plays a huge role here. So people are going to be concerned about, am I gonna, lose my health? And then they start with crazy scenarios, like I'm gonna grow a tail or something like that. So in that sense, knowing that people, when they come to the point of making that decision, they will have those biases. We need to create situations that will promote the results that we want to achieve. So if we want most people to be vaccinated, we need to educate and inform the people about the percentages of success cases. And we want to, so that is, looking at the loss aversion bias. You can also look at the reciprocity bias. So recently a family member of mine was contracted COVID from somebody who was asymptomatic. She had no contact with anybody who had COVID, and all of a sudden she appears with COVID. So would you like that to happen to a loved one of yours? Most likely you wouldn't. So then when we talk about those stories, then we have the reciprocity effect. I will wear a mask because I want to protect those I love. And in protecting those I love, I'm protecting you too. Same goes with the mask and the vaccination. So there are a number of strategies that we can use. And, depending if you're creating a public campaign, for example, you need to look at the messenger effects. So who is the messenger delivering that, the idea of that people should vaccinate? So the closer the messenger is to the person who is receiving the message, more likely they are to accept the message and follow through. Or the more the individual wants to be like the messenger, the more likely they are to accept the message. So right now, without trying to be political or anything, we have a great example of something going on along those lines when President Biden made sure that he's wearing a mask in every public event that he is. And we just saw that he just signed an order mandating that in every federal building, everybody wears masks. So that is the if we see an increase of mask wearing because of that, we can explain that through the messenger effect.
Wow, that's fantastic. Can you come up with some examples or ways in which government could use behavioral economics to address some of the prejudice and social injustice that we see like kind of all around us.
Oh, so that there is, now I'm with choice overload. Let's pick one because otherwise there's too many in my head. So I'm thinking of one, for example, organ donation. So right now, organ donation is optional. And if you go to do your driver's license and you want to donate your organs, you have to stop the process of all the forms that you are doing. And then you have to ask for a separate form, fill that out, and then say that you are a donor. And then that is, you actually have to opt in into a choice that it would be beneficial to the society if we had more donors. So what we could do is do the other way around, make organ donation the default option and give people a way out. If you don't want to donate your organs, then you go and fill out this form. I've heard of many people, for example, who would like to donate their organs, but are not officially a donor because they didn't want to waste the time to fill out the extra form. So that could potentially increase access to organs that, could save lives.
So task avoidance, like kind of making things simpler, building on momentum, like kind of those.
Exactly. That behavior analysis, we'll call it behavior momentum, but in choice design, we're saying that we are making the choice you want to see easier. So the term in behavior economics for that is the default choice, creating the default choice.
Does making something the default choice kind of normalize it then for everyone as well?
Yes. People like to be like the norm. The same effect that you see in, I don't want to look worse than my peers. In general, human beings want to look the same or better. So, if this is the choice, everybody's doing it, then I want to do it too. Unless I feel strongly about it for whatever other personal reason I may have. But for the group wants to remain the same.
It's fantastic. Thanks so much for this overview. Again, like kind of didn't have a lot of exposure to behavioral economics. And I just found the chapter that you had written in the text just very accessible, informative, and opened my eyes to a process that is beneficial and can change group behavior so effectively. So thank you for that. Is there anything that you'd like to share as to like kind of what you've been up to or other things within the field that listeners should access?
So, I've been, for my personal pleasure, just looking at behavior economics, behavior analysis, and ACT together as one thing. I think a lot of the behavior economic interventions, they work because of the relational frames. So I'm studying that a little more, and hopefully in the future there'll be an article on that.
Oh, fantastic. Is it too early to talk about your podcast?
Yes, well,
sorry.
It's coming, but I don't have a launch date yet, and I don't have a title for it yet. All I know is that I will talk about all the things that interest me: behavior analysis, behavior economics, integrated care, all these things together.
All so important. So how should people follow you, I'm assuming, on LinkedIn? And we can put a link and they'll follow you. And then when it's ready, they can have the benefit of your wisdom to learn about all of those things.
Yeah, they can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Instagram is @thebehaviorweb, and my website is thebehaviorweb.com.
Perfect. Amazing. Lily, so good to talk to you always. Love our conversations.
This has been awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.